The group of five is going to look a little bit different in 2023. Some teams are leaving, another few teams are joining the FBS level, some other teams are joining different conferences. It's going to make things a little bit wide open for the New Year's Six bowl bid, and I think that the conferences at the top are a little bit more even. Today, we take a look at the teams that can compete for that spot, as well as a few others in this top 25 group of five teams for the 2023 season. One of the biggest surprises in 2022 was the Boise State Broncos. You look at what Andy Avalos did with this team to be able to turn around a season that did not start very well to finish 10-4 is truly remarkable. You look at the team he has returning. Taylor Green grew into a star. I think he's going to be really fun to watch in 2023. And when you look at what's joining him in the backfield, George Holani returns, Aston Gianti are great. There's a great tandem for the Broncos offense. The pass catchers are going to be good for them as well. The offensive line returns two all Mountain West type players, and the defense is going to lose some stars, but you're going to get some guys back that have some experience. That's really exciting for a team that, again, is building off of some momentum heading to the end of the year after what was a tough start. And even though they lose some players, the players that are coming back are young and they have potential stardom in them. Tulane's coming off of a thrilling comeback win over USC, one of the best bowl games we saw in 2022. And you're looking at a team that has still a lot of talent returning, even though they lose quite a bit. Tyjae Spears might be gone, but the backfield has a trio of running backs that should be pretty good. Michael Pratt returns to run the offense, and he is an experienced starter that has gone through ups and downs, but this year he looks really good. And it's going to be interesting to see what he can do to build upon that. The defense takes some big hits, but there's still plenty of potential and plenty of experience as well. The new look AAC is going to be interesting for teams like Tulane. Now, when you look at UCF, Cincinnati, Houston all leaving, Tulane, who won the conference with those teams in it, is now maybe top dog in this conference. Coastal Carolina took a number of big hits, specifically Jamie Chadwell leaving for the Liberty job, and Tim Beck takes over to lead what is still going to be an extremely talented team, a team that went 9-4 in 2022. The biggest reason why they're this high is Grayson McCall. He is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Flirted with the transfer portal, actually went into the transfer portal, but ultimately decided to return. The offense is still loaded with talent, even though they lose center and Willie Lampkin. I think that this is still going to be an extremely explosive offense, one in which will put up a lot of points. And even though they take some hits both on offense and defense, this is still a talented group that competed for a conference championship, and they will compete for a New Year's Six spot in 2023. UTSA might be playing with more momentum than anybody in the group of five, and they joined the AAC this year to win another conference. You look at, they've won the last two Conference USA titles, and they're looking to win a new conference title in the AAC. Jeff Traylor has done a phenomenal job of building his program into almost a powerhouse in Conference USA, and now they're looking to do that in the AAC. Frank Harris is back to run the offense. Kavorian Barnes emerged as a bright star for this offense at running back. The pass game should still be electric, even if they lose a couple guys. And the defense, which wasn't great last year, has some veterans coming back that could make them even better. It's just a matter of how do they fit in with this new conference, with some of the explosive offenses that they'll be playing. It is a step up, but I think this is a team that can handle that step. The Jamie Chadwell era begins for Liberty, and it's going to be interesting to see now that they are in Conference USA and no longer independent. You're looking at a team that I think has a ton of talent that can handle this conference, and I think that they're going to be the favorite. I think that this is a team that has too much talent not to be the favorite. You start with Caden Salter at quarterback. When you look at what he did towards the end of the year, I think that's really exciting. And now you pair him with an offensive mind like Chadwell, that is only going to mean good things. Shedro Lewis should have a breakout season now that Day-Day Hunter is in the transfer portal. And the defense loses a number of veteran pieces, but I think that a guy like Jamie Chadwell knows how to develop talent, how to identify talent, and how to get it to play well on the field. There's a lot riding on Rhett Lashley's second year at SMU, and I think he's done a good job of bringing in talent to compete for SMU. You look at the Preston Stone era is going to begin. That's not someone he brought in, but it's someone that has a lot of excitement, a lot of potential in terms of being a passer and a runner. I think that dual threat promise is going to be exciting to watch in that offense. The running backs are loaded again. Levine is back, Wheaton is back, Gardner's back, and then you add Jalen Knighton from Miami in the transfer portal. The biggest question is going to be, who is Rashee Rice's replacement? Is it going to be Jordan Curley? Is it going to be Dylan Goffney? There's someone needs to step up, because a guy like Rashee Rice was the top target by a long shot for the Mustangs, and someone needs to step up. Hopefully it's more of a by committee. I think that makes this offense even better, especially with a new quarterback running the show. The defense gets some transfers, but they'll be hurting for veteran experience. That might not be a bad thing. I think that this is a defense that is the X factor for this team. And if they're able to step up and play the way that I know they're capable of, you could see them potentially being the new Cincinnati or UCF of this new AAC. It's going to be a wide open race. I think there's a lot of questions in this conference, and a team like SMU that has an explosive offense could be the team that takes over the new conference. Troy's coming off a surprising season where they finished 12-2, and John Summerall deserves a ton of credit for that, and not really a turnaround, but to be able to get them to that level. I think a lot of people lost some faith in this team, but when you looked at the talent they had returning, it was easy to see why they should be more successful. Now in 2023, they have a target on their back, and they lose quite a bit of talent. Carlton Martial is gone on the defensive side of the ball, along with a number of key pieces, but there are guys like TJ Jackson and Javon Solomon that will lead the way. They have plenty of experience, multi-year experience for a lot of these guys, and they shouldn't take a too big of a step back. It's just going to be going to the offense. What can they do to take a step forward? Because the defense is probably going to take a slight step back, and the defense needs to kind of combat that. Gunnar Watson is back at quarterback. Kimani Vidal is back, but Tez Johnson, the top wide receiver, is gone. So they have some questions on that side of the ball. The defense probably won't be as elite. Still going to be really fun to watch, but can the offense step up when they need them the most? Western Kentucky is probably going to have one of the most explosive offenses in college football in 2023. And a big reason for that is Austin Reed. He went into the transfer portal, but ultimately decided that he's going to stay at Western Kentucky. He and Malachi Corley could be one of the best 1-2 combinations in college football. The question is going to be who catches the ball besides Malachi Corley. I think that we've had questions coming into last year, who was going to be the best number one, number two options. This year, we're looking at number two, number three. I think that there are a handful of options that could step up. Michael Matheson is an option. Dalvin Smith is an option. They have talent, and that's going to be a big key for this offense. The defense is going to have to step up. This offense is going to score points, and we're not expecting the defense to be elite or shutting teams down, but this is a group that needs to be opportunistic, because if you give your offense more of a chance to score points, then your team's going to be in good position. And we saw in the bowl game what happens when you give your offense more opportunities to score. Marshall's first year in the Sun Belt went as I expected. I thought they were going to compete for a title, and they were right up there. They didn't play in the conference championship game, but they were competing with the teams that were. And I think that's something that shouldn't be surprising. You look at what Charles Huff is doing, and this is a team that's on the rise. This is a team that deserves plenty of respect, and especially after this 9-4 season, I think there's a lot to like about this program, even with the losses they sustained. Rasheen Ali, one of the best running backs in college football, is back after missing a lot of year for personal reasons. He's going to remind everyone how elite he is as a runner, and it's going to be fun to see what he can do in 2023. Quarterback is up for grabs. Cam Fancher is the favorite to win that, but I think that it's going to be a competition well into fall camp. The wide receivers are solid. I think that that's going to make life easy for whoever wins the wide or the quarterback job. And the defense is going to take some big hits, but I think that there's a couple stars that are still on this group. So I think that Marshall is going to be a team that competes once again for a Sun Belt championship and couldn't compete for that NY6 spot. It's a big year for Toledo and Jason Candle. Last year they had a solid season and they won the MAC championship, and DeQuan Finn stepped up in a big way. It's just a matter of, can he repeat that? Is this a team that can even improve upon their 2022 season? Because when you look at a 9-5 record is good, but it's not great. And I think that if you're going to take a step forward and play for a New Year's Six bowl game, you have to take a step up. I think the running backs is a trio of guys that rush for over 1,600 yards combined with 8 touchdowns. The wide receivers are super underrated. Now, the big question is going to be on defense. The front seven loses a ton of experienced players, but the secondary might be the best secondary in the MAC, and that's something that will help them. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what they can do and how this group defends their title and even takes a step forward in 2023. San Jose State returns a good core of players. The defense is probably where it takes the biggest hit. Junior Filifoco and Cade Hall are gone on the defensive line. Kyle Harmon is gone as well. Nehemiah Shelton in the secondary is gone, but there are a handful of guys on the defensive side of the ball that will be just fine. Siobhan Cordero was the surprise by coming back to the Spartans, and I think that's huge for this offense. This is an offense that is going to give a lot of teams trouble, and we saw that towards the end of the year, how good they can be, and that's something that the Mountain West is definitely going to have to pay attention to. James Madison, because it was their first year in the FBS, didn't get to compete for a Sun Belt championship. They would have had they been eligible, and now they get a chance to remind everyone that last year wasn't an anomaly. I think that that's been really fun to watch. You look at the talent they have returning. They do lose a number of big names, especially on offense. They have a new quarterback, running back, and top wide receiver that will need to step up. And the defense could be electric, but also has some players to replace. James Carpenter and Isaac Uku are going to be two fun players to watch on the defensive line. The question is going to be on the offensive side of the ball, specifically who takes over at quarterback. That's going to be a question that needs to be answered, and one that could determine how successful they are in 2023. UAB enters a new era, and it's going to be interesting to see if they still have that tough, feisty mentality where they don't care what anybody thinks. Expectations do not matter to them. They set their own expectations and they produce results. This is still a team that's extremely talented. The quarterback battle is going to be a one to watch between Dylan Hopkins and Jacob Zeno. Jermaine Brown takes over for Dwayne McBride. It feels like they just pump out running backs. The next guy up. The offensive line returns all Conference USA talent that is now in a new conference. So that's going to be interesting how they handle that. But the talent they have returning means that they should be just fine. The defense is top heavy, but should be solid to me. And I think this is still going to be a team that's tough to beat. A 7-6 season wasn't great last year, but there were some factors going into that. I think that this year will be interesting to see how they compete at a higher level. I think a lot of teams in the Sun Belt were really surprising. South Alabama was yet another team to do that. A 10-3 season by Kane Womack was very impressive. And you look at the offense, and that's a big reason for where they were able to go. You lose a guy like Jalen Tolbert, and you expect your offense to take almost a step back. Now, the pass catching maybe wasn't the best that it could have been, but I think that the quarterback and running back play really stepped up. Carter Bradley is back. LaDamian Webb is back. They deserve a ton of credit for what the offense did. The defense was huge for this team. 26th in scoring. They kept teams off the scoreboard, and that's a big reason for their success. And you look at they lose multiple key starters on that side of the ball, so that might take a step back. But the fact that Bradley and Webb are back on offense makes things a little bit easier. Fresno State takes a huge dent to their offense with Jake Hainer and Jordan Mims departing. The defense loses quite a few players as well, and most notably Evan Williams just announced he was transferring, and that's going to be something that'll hurt them. But there are a number of players coming back that'll be exciting. Mikey Keene comes in from UCF to take over the offense, seemingly. I really like that fit, and I think that this is a team that Jeff Tedford can work with. This is going to be a group that maybe they're not competing for a conference championship, but this is still going to be a team in the Mountain West that's going to be tough to beat, even with the number of players that they lose. North Texas fell just short against UTSA in Conference USA, and now they join the Roadrunners in the AAC. They're going to lose their quarterback, Hassanani, to the NFL. Initially, thought he was going to go to the transfer portal, but now he's gone either way. He's going pro, and it's going to be tough to see how they move forward without him. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be bad. I think that there's plenty of exciting options at quarterback, and especially on this offense to be able to hand the ball off to Oscar Attaway is back. You look at the wide receivers too, with Jair Shorter leading the way. Roderick Burns is back. Those are going to be two guys that can step up, and we've seen what they can do in the past. And this is a group, again, that's going to be tough to beat. It's going to be an exciting offense. The defense does lose a couple of key players, but they have most of their guys back, which means that they have plenty of experience to navigate the AAC. It's just a matter of how much they can handle this new talent level that they'll be facing. Ryan Silverfield enters a pivotal year for his career. He's 13-12 at Memphis so far, which has been very disappointing. I think Memphis fans had bigger expectations for him coming into the season, and it's tough to see the struggles that they've had. Now you look at what they have returning, and you see that the transfer portal in the NFL draft did a number on both sides of the ball. Now, there are some key pieces coming back that'll be really nice. Seth Hennigan is actually a solid college quarterback. I think that he could be really fun to watch. You just have to get the right pieces around him. The biggest addition was getting Old Dominion running back Blake Watson from the transfer portal. It's already a deep running back room for the Tigers, but I think Watson takes this group to another level. The defense wasn't great last year, which is a concern, and they lost a lot of talent, specifically Quindell Johnson. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how do they respond to that? How do they rebound from losing that amount of talent? Is that a good thing for them, or is it just going to be more of the same this year? A surprise of the MAC was the Ohio Bobcats, a team that a lot of people picked to finish at the bottom of the conference. Finished 10-4 last year, and it was really fun to see this team play, specifically Curtis Rourke. I think he continues that tradition of the family. You look at his brother who used to play for them. He was really good. Last year, Curtis threw for over 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. He also rushed for over 200 yards on the season with 4 more scores. Could have been better if he wasn't injured. Those numbers could have been better. But CJ Harris is a solid backup, so I think they have 2 options. Probably maybe a quarterback battle coming into the year, but it's pretty obvious that Curtis was the better guy. You look at the players they have returning around him, and this is going to be a team that's going to be hard to stop. And then you look at the defense, top 4 tacklers return for them as well. That is a huge returning group for this group. So I think that this is going to be a team that competes with Toledo for the MAC championship. San Diego State took a step back in 2022, going from 12-2 in 2021 to 7-6 last year. I think there were some questions about quarterback. Those kind of have been answered. We at least know that Jalen Maiden is going to be the guy. It's just a matter of consistency for him, something that he struggled with last year. And I think that there are some playmakers on offense. The question is going to be on the defense. This was an extremely veteran and talented group, and they lose a lot of guys. And that's going to be something that probably hurts them a little bit, especially with some of the offenses that they'll play. But given San Diego State's history of producing tough defenses, I think they'll be just fine. Tulsa moves on from the Philip Montgomery era, which was a disappointing end at 5-7 last year. Kevin Wilson takes over and should make sure that this offense is explosive. Braylon Braxton took his name out of the transfer portal to return to run Wilson's offense. And it's going to be a season of questions, a season of who's going to be the guy. Braxton has a ton of potential. I think that he's going to be really exciting. I think that Wilson and him will be a good pairing. And it's just a matter of who are the playmakers that are going to step up. The offense needs to be retooled, essentially. They return some players, but there's also plenty of questions. There's some skill position talent returning on both sides of the ball. The defense needs a leader. So there's a lot of questions. And even though it's, this is a group that is hoping to be better, it might take a year or two before they're actually seeing some progress. Louisiana took a huge dent in terms of experienced players that were gone, but they still managed to have a successful season. You look at it finished with a losing record, but the fact that they finished 6-6 in the regular season to make a bowl game says a lot about where this program is. I think that you have a ton of returning talent. They do lose quite a few players, specifically Chris Smith and Michael Jefferson on offense. But when you look at the talent they have returning, there shouldn't be too much of a roller coaster of struggles or success. It'll just be a kind of a steady ship. And it feels like they're headed in the right direction despite the talent that they've lost. I think one of the biggest questions for App State was, what are they going to do when they keep moving on from coaches? I think that at a certain point, everyone expects this team to take a step back. And we finally saw that last year. It's kind of like the NDSU, we're kind of just waiting for them at the FCS level to take a step back. They just haven't done it yet. App State for a while was just doing the same thing. It was, they're probably going to be average this year, and they just kept winning. Now they're coming off of a season in which they finished 6-6. They lose a number of big names, specifically Chase Bryce, Cameron Peoples, and Nick Hampton. There's a lot of talent that's gone from this roster, but I still have faith that this team can be just fine. Nate Noel is back on offense. Christian Horn is back. Linebackers take a big hit with Hampton and Trey Cobb gone, and Stephen Jones departs from the secondary, but it's a big year for the Mountaineers, who are hoping to get back on top of the Sun Belt. Rick Stockstill deserves a lot more credit than he gets for what he's done at Middle Tennessee. Now, there are some better years that he's had in the past, but the fact that he was able to go from 4-8 in 2019, which a lot of coaches might have gotten fired for, he brought his team all the way back up to 8-5 in 2022. He has secured everybody's faith and he just continues to remind everyone that this is a team that is going to be in contention. It is going to be a solid team, even if they have one bad year. They're going to be able to bounce back. And I think that you're looking at a program that is in good hands. Chase Cunningham is back. His top target will be gone, but he will have some players coming back at the skill positions that will make life a little easier. On defense, losing Jordan Ferguson was always going to hurt. It's just that this time has come now. And then you look at the secondary, Tedrick Ross and DeCorian Patterson combined for 32 passes defended and 9 interceptions last year. So throwing on the Blue Raiders isn't a wise decision. Georgia Southern could be the sleeper pick of the Sun Belt. You look at, they just added Davis Brin in the transfer portal, and when you look at what Kyle Van Treese did in 2022, those numbers that he put up should make that addition even more exciting. Davis Brin is a gunslinger that could put up record numbers, and this could be a team with the talent they have returning that's an offense that's really tough to stop. They need more disruptors on the defense. I think that was one thing they lacked outside of Justin Ellis last year. And when you look at what they have returning, there's a lot of potential, but they need someone to step up and show that they can be the guy. Buffalo is a team to keep an eye on. I think what they've done since Lance Leipold has departed has been really impressive. A 7-6 season last year was more than I expected from them, and they have 15 starters returning this year. The offense has a ton of talent, a ton of excitement. The defense loses James Patterson. That's a huge loss, but they also have some all-MAC players returning. Damon Williams is back on the front line, and he just is going to be an absolute stud for them. And they have someone at each level of that defense that'll be just fine. I think the rushing attack for this offense too will be good, and 2 of the top 3 pass catchers are gone, but they have some guys returning that could be exciting. It's going to be an interesting year. I don't know if this is one in which they can win the MAC, but it's definitely a team that you don't want to face week in and week out.